Good evening, Rabbi. One of the people in the community asked us a good question about Pidyon Haben. The question is like this, that the halacha says like this, what's Pidyon Haben? What does this mean? So the whole story is like this, right? It goes back to what we had in the times of the Midbar. When the Jews left Mitzrayim, they were in the Midbar. So what happened was that there was a certain thing that occurred there, a certain process. What was the process? The process went like this. In those days, when they built the Mishkan, who was supposed to serve in the Mishkan? The Bechorot, the firstborn. The one who was firstborn, Bechor, he was supposed to be the Kohen, in the Mishkan. This is the way it was. So what happened was that this was the original plan. But then what happened was that Kadosh Baruch Hu changed his mind. And he said, you know what? I'm going to take away this kehuna from the Bechorot, and I'm going to give it to the Levi'im. This is what happened, So instead of what does that mean, Levi'im? The Kohanim, right? The Kohanim, which are from Shevet Levi. They're going to get it instead. So what happened was that, why is that? The Levi'im were loyal to Kadosh Baruch Hu. They didn't do Avodah Zarah. During the Midbar, when they did the Chet HaEgel, the Levi'im were not involved in that. So this is what happened, So instead of the Bechorot, what happened was that it was taken by the Levi'im and the Kohanim, this tafkid. This is what happened. So what happened was that each Bechor, right, who was supposed to be working in the Beit HaMikdash, came one Levi and took his place, right? This was like a switch, So what happened was that because of that whole thing, now we have this rule that when you have a Bechor, he's really supposed to be according to the original law, the original Torah, as we said, right? He's supposed to be the one who's working in the Beit HaMikdash. He's supposed to be the Kohen, the Levi. So, because of that, he still has a Kedusha. Bechor has Kedusha. This is what it is. There's a Kedusha. So, therefore, he's really supposed to go and work in the Beit HaMikdash, whatever. Today we don't have Beit HaMikdash, obviously. But he's the one who's supposed to do that. So, since now the Levi'im took their place, the Kohanim, so what happens is that we have to do Pidyon Haben because of this. So, what does that mean? That each son who's a Bechor has to be redeemed, because otherwise he would have to be holy and work in the Mikdash. So the way we redeem him is we give the Kohen money, and this redeems him from the Kehuna and brings him back to be a normal, regular Jew. This is what it is. This is the reason why we have to do Pidyon Haben. This is the whole, yeah.
What about C-section? Because if they were born in C-section, they don't need to do. Am I right?
Yeah, because it says that it opened the womb, So you're right. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, you're right. It doesn't open the womb when it comes in a C-section. So therefore, you're correct what you're saying.
But what about for the Shidduch, like he's supposed to be the bracha of the Kohen? Because he's anyways the Bechor.
Right, but since he's not. The only is we're going to discuss that concept a little bit also. In 1 second, I want to just finish this concept here, but we're going to get back to that in a second. But what I wanted to say is like this, right? That now what happens is that the Bechorot have to be redeemed in order to be they should be released from this obligation of doing the avodah in the Beit HaMikdash. This is the reason why we redeem them. So what happens is that we give to the Kohen, right, the money, we redeem him, the Bechor. So it has to be done Pidyon Haben. It's a very important mitzvah because otherwise, you still don't own your son. Like he's kadosh, he's kodesh. He belongs to the Mikdash, right? So now the question was like this, right? The question that he asked was, this person, is that, does that apply to a person who he's the father's Bechor, but not the mother's Bechor? You know what I mean? What that means is that the mother already was married before one time, so she already had children. She had several children, and now she marries another guy, and now for him, this is the Bechor for him, firstborn. But for her, it's not. Understand? This is because she already had children before. So the question is, does this kind of situation doesn't require Pidyon Haben or not? This is the question, So I looked it up. We looked around, and it's there, and it's in the Shulchan Aruch, brought down there. The rule is like this, that it says in the Shulchan Aruch that only a person who is Bechor to the mother, that he opened her womb, right? This is exactly what I want to say, right? The C-section doesn't open the womb. That's the thing, So that's the way it's described in the Torah, right? The Peter Rechem, it has to open up the womb. This is the reason why. So if it's Peter Rechem, So then we say, right, that he's called Bechor. But otherwise he's not called Bechor. So here also, the one who was the Bechor for the husband, even though it's for him it's Bechor, but for her, this is not Peterechem. This is not the one that opened her womb. She was already open before. Understand? So this is the reason why. They don't require. They don't require B'diyan Ben. So the rule is like that. Whatever it is, there's no reason to do. Somebody may ask you, should I do Hasidut and do it anyway? No. Why waste your money? Right? It says in the why waste your money? Do Hasidut, things like this. There's no Hasidut. When it says Patur, that means it's Patur. That's it. There's nothing to talk about. There's no reason to do Hasidut. You know what it says, right? There's a Gemara in Yerushalmi. It says, Kola oseh davar, kola patur medavar, osehu nikra hediot. You know what that means? If a person is patur from something, the Torah tells you, patur! And you go do it anyway, you know what I mean? So you're hediot. You know what's hediot? It sounds like idiot, right? Hediot, idiot. But it's not exactly idiot. That's not what it means. Even though today, that's what it became. Today we call idiot, but hediot means somebody who's amaretz, doesn't know halakha. He's not medakdek in halachot, Like he says, okay, yeah, do it, yeah, okay, do it anyway. Yeah, what do you mean do it anyway? It says patur. What are you talking about? Patur means patur. Chayav means chayav. Why are you doing things which you don't have to do? So a person like this is called hediot, He's not medakdek in halakha. He doesn't look inside. What's going on? Look at the Shulchan Aruch. Open up and see what's written there. That's the way to serve Hashem, Not to make up your own rules. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do it anyway. What are you gonna do anyway? What are you gonna do? When the rabbi tells you, right, it's patur, that means it's patur. That's it. So this concept also applies to other mitzvot, right? When we also talk about sukkah. So you know what the rule is, right? The rule is that when it comes to sukkah, a person who's mitzta'er, he's having tsar in the sukkah, patur. You know what I mean? So what does that mean? Let's say there's a rain, because of the rains, he's mitzta'er. He can't take the rains over there. It's bothering him. The rains bothers everybody. We're all normal people, right? How can you sit in the rain, and eat dinner, over there? What kind of dinner is that, right? It's dinner or it's a shower? What are you doing over there? One or the other, right? So you're patur. You know what I mean? That means patur means there's no reason for you to sit there and do it. So what does that mean? If you try to be machamir, not a good idea. Even though there are some groups, by the way, I don't want to mention any names, but there are some groups, the Jews, who even though it's raining, tidal wave, like storming down weather, they sit there and they eat in the sukkah anyway. What are you trying to do? Who are you trying to impress? The Gemara says about this, right? Regarding this, that if a person sits in the sukkah when it's raining, and he sits there anyway, and he says, "I'll eat dinner over here," yeah, I'll be machmir, chasid, what I mean? So you know what it says, right? The Mazda domain. What does it resemble? It's like a person went to a king, and he offered him something, and the king didn't like it, gave him something to offer him, some kind of a drink, whatever, So the king took, the drink and spilled it in his face, chop, like so, and he comes back and says, no, please, please take it. What, please take it? He just spilled it on your face, so don't come back again. You know what I mean? That's the idea. So a person has to know, when Hashem says no, sometimes it means no. Don't try to change his no into a yes. You can't change his mind. Whatever he made up his mind, that's the way it has to be. So you're patur. Don't try. The same thing, by the way, applies to other things as well in the sukkah. Let's say, for instance, a person is, it's too cold there, right? Whatever. Or it's too hot. He can't sit there, he's suffering, he's sweating, whatever. He's freezing there, So the rule is like this, we're not going to talk about sukkah, it's not sukkot now. But the rule is, in general, when it comes to sukkah, that if a person is sitting in the sukkah, and something happens over there, so if this would happen in his house, he would go into another room because it's bothering him a lot. He wouldn't stay in that room. He would go to another room. So if you would go into another room because something is really bothering you, you're also patur from the sukkah. Same thing, Just like you can leave that room, you can also leave the sukkah. That's the way it is, So that's the way it is. So a person, when Hashem tells you patur, there's no reason to do. There's also another case, right, that a person can get into trouble when it comes to this. Sometimes, for instance, let's say, I'll give you an example, and we'll understand a little bit better. For instance, there's a halacha in the Shulchan Aruch about brachot, right? So what does that mean? That when a person is eating a seudah or some kind of a meal, whatever it is, anything, whatever, so the rule is that mevarech al haikar upoter tatafel. You know what I mean? You know what that means? In other words, you bless on the main food, And the tafel, the things, the side foods, the side dishes, you don't bless on all the side dishes. Why? Because it's just coming to accompany the main dish. So the best example of that is the bread, right? When you make hamotzi, and you eat the seudah, so do you make a blessing on what? French fries? You make a blessing on adama? Or you make a blessing on the basar, shako? Or you make a blessing on, what do you call it? Some other things over there on the table? Drinks, shakol? No, you don't make shakol. You don't make, why? Because the ikar is the bread. The seudah is the ikar of the bread. So you don't have to bless on the other. Mevarech al ikar, upoter tatafel. So same thing also applies, by the way, if a person is eating, let's say, mezonot, and he's eating something together with that mezonot. For instance, like you'll give an example, right? Let's say a person is eating, some food, let's say like French fries, that's not mezonot, but he's eating French fries. So, he dips it in the ketchup, right? So what is he going to do now? Make borei pri adama on the ketchup? No. What? No, because it's not the ikar. The ikar is the French fries. The ketchup is tafel. So you don't bless on that. Same thing, if you're eating, let's say, a person is eating like a falafel, shawarma, whatever, right? Something like that, right? So what is he going to do now? Bless on the pickles, pickles, he's going to make a blessing on borei pri adama. You don't do that, right? The same thing, by the way, even a little bit more fine-tuned, right? Let's say a person is eating, like we in this community, a lot of us like to eat rice, right? It's like a main thing in our diet, right? Whatever. So if you eat rice, plow, so what's the halakha? Do you bless, let's say you're having rice with meat, or rice with chicken, or rice with vegetables, or rice with fish. What bracha do you make on that? So the rule is you make borei minei mazonot on the rice, and you don't bless on the chicken. You don't bless on the meat. Why? Because the ikar is the rice over there, and the meat and the chicken is tafel. That's what it says in the Chazon Ovadia, Maran Ovadia Shalom. He says like that. Also in Yalkut Yosef, he writes this. There's many books that bring this down. That's the rule, So you bless on the ikar, and tafel you don't bless. By the way, why is the rice is the ikar and the meat is tafel? Why? Some people like meat better than rice, right? So why is rice the ikar? What's the reason why? You know what the reason is? Because rice, why do we bless mezonot on rice? It's not really one of the 5 grains. So why do we bless mezonot on cooked rice? Because it's masbiyah, it satiates you, Gives you satiation. It makes you full, right, exactly. So it makes you full. So this is the reason why it's more ikar than the basar, it's more ikar than the chicken, it's more ikar than the vegetables and the fish, whatever it may be, right, that you're eating together with the rice. So therefore you bless on the rice, poter tatafel. You don't bless shakol, hadama, this, on the things that come with the rice. You don't need that. I'm not talking about a case where you're not eating bread, right? Just rice, It's not rice with something. Right? That's the way it is. Why am I telling you this halakha? What's the reason why? The reason I'm telling you is like this, Now if you, Kadosh Baruch Hu told you, listen, don't bless on the ketchup. Don't make a bracha on the pickles. Don't make a bracha, on the salad, because it's part of the meal. So now you say, no, I'm going to be machamir, I'll make a bracha. I want to be good to Kadosh Baruch Hu, give him a nachat ruach, So we know what we say, right? Hediot, you're hediot, you're amaretz. What are you doing, Kadosh Baruch Hu says you're patur, and you're coming and blessing. You're making a bracha anyway. Bracha lebatala, bracha shenet tzricha. This is already a sin, a big sin. Yeah. So this is the way it is. So a person has to know, right, that when a person is patur, when the Torah tells you patur, that means don't do it. Don't. There's no reason to be machmir. Otherwise, you're called hediot. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen.